welcome in the Red and Blue Crew podcast. Brad Logan alongside David Johnson. Today's show brought to you by our friends at the Velvet Ditch and the Land Shark, two great locations in Oxford. Also, the Dirt Doctor and the Hearn Law Firm, proud sponsors here on the Red and Blue Crew podcast. Kind of exactly what we expected, David. 49-0 was the final score, but it was all Ole Miss, 21 first quarter points, 14 second quarter points, and the Rebels rolled and sets up two really big games, and the future is right in front of them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, you control your own destiny at this point. You beat the Florida Gators in Oxford on November 15th, 6 days from now. And then the Friday after Thanksgiving, you go to Starkville and you beat Mississippi State, and likely is going to be an all or nothing game for both teams. In other words, Ole Miss cannot afford to lose. And if Mississippi State wants to go to a bowl game, Brad, I think they're likely 5-6 going into that matchup because, if I'm not mistaken, they play Missouri this coming week. And Missouri coming off of Texas A&M loss, they're going to be stewing and in no mood to play around with the Bulldogs. So I think the Egg Bowl sets up 5-6 Mississippi State, Jeff Lebby and the Bulldogs playing for a bowl berth. Ole Miss, we know what they're playing for, a chance for the college football playoffs.
We'll talk about the playoffs and kind of what to expect here in just a little bit. But before we do, let's kind of look at the game at the Citadel yesterday. Obviously, not a whole lot to say about the Citadel. They didn't do a whole lot. Not very good. What kind of surprised you, or what pleasantly surprised you with what you saw from Ole Miss, either from an offense or defensive standpoint?
Well, Austin Simmons was in rhythm yesterday. I mean, threw for 333 yards, I think 4 touchdowns. I mean, that's the best thing you could see. He did exactly what you expected him to do. Moving on, the offensive line dominated. They should have. Look, the Citadel is a very proud institution with a great history. It is a military school. And not a lot of kids who can play ball want to go to the military school, to be honest with you. So, you got to take into account who you were playing. Austin Simmons got in the game, looked well when he got in the game. And the defense did as you would expect them to do. Ole Miss gained over 600 yards of total offense, held Citadel to 106 yards. So, it was exactly as scripted. Lane Kiffin got a couple married and or engaged anyway.
Yeah.
And, it was a great day to play the Citadel. A salute to the veterans. And I don't think you could have asked for anything more other than I'm a little bit concerned about Will Eccles' shoulder right now. Brad, what did Lane say about that after the game?
He said that he could have come back in the game.
That's good.
He offered that up because he was asked about specifically about Will Eccles and also about Daquan Wright, who came down hard on his left shoulder. Mm-hmm. And that's the same shoulder that he hurt. And so John Darnell made mention that he landed right on it. Medical personnel came out. They actually took him to the locker room. And then he came back, and he didn't look like he was ready to go back in the game, I'll be honest. I watched him come back out of the tunnel, and he was not moving very quick. But Lane was asked at the end of the game, he's like, yeah, he said he could have come back, and he says, and Eccles could have too. So you're right, that is good news. So we don't know the extent of those injuries, but yeah, both should be ready to go by Florida.
Ole Miss will be favored in both of these remaining games. Even on the road in Starkville, they're going to be a slight favorite down there. I know Mississippi State is better, but they're not Ole Miss better yet. They're definitely going to be favored over a Florida team that was trounced by Kentucky last night. I mean, let's be honest, 38-7. So, but let me tell you this, Brad, and this is Sunday afternoon. We're recording this. I spent a little time with Ole Miss defensive back Sage Ryan earlier Sunday morning. And let me tell you, if he's an indication of the team, they are focused. They understand what's on the line. And it's almost that pro mindset that we used to hear about all the time that is kind of set in with these guys. And let's be honest, this is pro ball now. This is the minor leagues. And, I was impressed with where Sage's head was. And good-looking guy, by the way. And I'm proud he is at Ole Miss now.
When you look at the Citadel and you look at the game, specifically on offense, you look at running back Kawan Lacey, who 16 rushing touchdowns on the season, leads the country 912 yards on the ground. He'll get over 1,000 Saturday, and he'll also break the record in Oxford for rushing touchdowns. He'll break Quinshon Judkins' record on Saturday too, probably. The offense is really clicking, and it feels like that this was kind of a get-right game for Ole Miss and specifically Trinidad Chambliss. And I asked Lane at the end of the game, does he like where this the game falls on the schedule? And he you could tell he really does. And I think it's because you're at the back half of the season. This was, I mean, the best way to put this was a spring game. That's what it was. I mean, you were able to get a lot of different people into the game, and you got to see a lot of people like Caleb Cunningham and, so many younger players that we were excited about seeing. But offensively, I feel like this team is clicking as good as it can late in the season.
Oh, yeah. I believe it is too. Look, I was talking Ole Miss football with a fan yesterday, and you feel like you need to reach out and pinch yourself. But look at what this athletic program has done under Keith Carter. We've got a baseball team that won a national championship. We've got a women's golf team that won a national championship. We've got a men's and women's basketball program. The women are ranked in the AP poll right now. The men are just outside of it. They're both whipping people. Both have high expectations. The track and field program is outstanding. Why would not football be, Brad? Why wouldn't it be? I mean, this is where everything in athletics, maybe other than the soccer program, has kind of lifted itself up. And I think it's kind of like that old saying, well, if Mississippi State does good, we're going to do good. In that vein of thought, it's like if football does good, everybody else is going to do good. And that's happening here at Ole Miss. And I'm not pinching myself that the Rebels have the opportunity to go to the college football playoffs. As far as opportunity goes, that dates all the way back to when Hugh Freeze was here. I mean, we have had opportunities to get into the CFP. So, these next two games, don't freak out about them as fans. Enjoy it. Saturday's going to be a big-time game. The Egg Bowl is going to be a big-time game with postseason ramifications at stake for both teams. I mean, it's a great time to be an Ole Miss Rebel.
Yeah, a rising tide lifts all boats. And I think you can say that with the football program and what they've been able to do over the last few years under Lane Kiffin. Kiffin, over the last couple of weeks, became the second winningest head football coach in Ole Miss history behind John Vaught in a percentage. I mean, you have to date back to the 1900s and early and late 1800s to even dig up some of these records. And so what he's done has been incredible. And, there's still so much more that he can do. And, we haven't even talked about what may happen at the end of the year. We don't know that. But we just know at the state of where the Ole Miss athletic department is under Keith Carter, under Dr. Boyce, the Grove Collective, the fan base, it's all kind of moving in the same direction. And you would think that when Lane sat down and made a decision about his future, he would play all of that into a factor. And I do believe he will. But, yeah, just kind of putting a cap on the game Saturday, David. I thought it was a big game special team-wise. I thought Lucas Carnero was really good. Oscar Bird had a great punt. It was just a really good day for Ole Miss. And I think Lane was right. So many of these late season non-conference games can be looked at like, well, we didn't play very good. We won 45-0. Really not a whole lot of that wasn't the case. I mean, it felt like this is a very, as Sage right, I'm not surprised he said that. This is a laser-focused team. And this is a team that understands the objective at hand, and that's beating the Florida Gators. A FanDuel line came out this morning, 13.5-point favorite, Ole Miss. It opened at 7.5 a couple weeks ago. It's at 13.5 now. And a lot of that, and we can talk about the Gators real quick. I was very surprised, David, last night watching the Florida Gators completely give up against Kentucky. They gave up on Billy Gonzalez, and this feels like a situation to where not only should Ole Miss win this game, David, they should win it running away.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I believe they should. Look, we all know Florida has athletes, but, look, there's a real side to coaching. And all those guys on that Florida staff, and I know several of them very, very well. And, You know Ron Roberts, the defensive
Yeah.
coordinator at Florida, just like I do. Ron and I've said this a million times. We actually coached a Little League baseball together over in Cleveland when he was the head coach at Delta State. And I jokingly called him Juice Box because of the Will Ferrell movie Kicking and Screaming. That's what he called Mike Ditka. But great guy, great family, great man. But my point is, all those people right now, they don't know where they're going to be working next year. In January, they don't know where they're going to be working. In football, it's rare that you get to stay. And my own family experienced that last year when Kendrick Wade was fired as the head coach at Mississippi Valley State. And, Eli had to stay there until his contract was finished in March. But, it was weird recruiting for a school that you knew you weren't going to be at. And, that kills laser focus, Brad. And I think that's a lot of what had to do with Kentucky beating the crap out of Florida last night. The focus is not there. Why are you going to give everything and all to a company that is, they're done with you? You're gone. I kind of feel like that sometimes. But my point being, those Florida coaches, they're disengaged right now. I truly believe that. Yeah, there's a guy or two on the staff we're going to give it all we got, blah, blah, blah. But look, man, they're going to practice. They're going through practice. Then they're on the phone trying to find a job because coaching is a big fraternity. And, you got this guy fired and this job open and this guy fired and this one's opening up and just nobody knows. And a lot of these guys have families. There's babies at home. There are wives at home. And some of them, believe it or not, are not well compensated like, the head coaches are or the coordinators are.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the human side of this. That's what nothing Billy Gonzalez says this week will make me believe his staff is not disengaged or were disengaged last night, Saturday night, when Kentucky beat the living hell out of them. And I was like you. I couldn't watch it. I fell asleep, 9 o'clock or so when the ass whooping was going on. I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, I was watching that and, of course, had my eye on LSU and Alabama and just, my goodness, Garrett Nussmeier just completely has fallen apart this year. I mean,
I don't know. I don't get that either. I really don't. I mean, before the season started, he was going to be the next Jackson Dart, right? He was the SEC's next Dart. And he has failed miserably. And, you can blame it on coaching or play calling or whatever. But he's got to shoulder some of that blame, Brad. I mean, some of that's on him. He has not played well. Short throws that ought to be easily completed are inaccurate. We can talk all day about Garrett Nussmeier. I'm going to shut up. But it's going to be interesting to see what goes on between now and January 1. Because, listen, January 2nd, the transfer portal opens. So people are going to be making moves quicker than normal. You're not going to see these month-long coaching searches after the season ends. People are going to jump. And you got to. I mean, the kids are going to get in the portal if they don't have a head coach. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, Ole Miss has everything out in front of them. You've got a Florida team that's coming in just absolutely battered. You've got a football game, David, to where I looked on the secondary market, the cheapest price to get in, bought Hemingway, is $250.
Yeah, it's tough.
And this is going to be a huge crowd. And I would expect Lane, similar to the Kentucky game, learned quite a bit last year from the Florida game and about more or less not what to do, but what not to do. And I think the way we've seen him coach this year has been drastically different than last year. And it's specifically game management, specifically the decision to kick a field goal, specifically the decisions to punt. And most importantly, the decisions aside, this Ole Miss defense under Pete Golding has completely changed night and day from the Georgia game. And they have played so much better, and that lends itself to Ole Miss fans to even be more optimistic with the next couple of games.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. And here's another interesting take. I think we talked about the team being laser focused, and they are. I truly believe that. I also think the Ole Miss fan base is laser focused right now, Brad. I mean, look, we've talked about the Egg Bowl situation and all that. Just talk. The Ole Miss fans are looking towards Florida, and you talked about the price of a ticket being over $200. There are going to be lots of screaming Rebel fans in there. I would venture to say this game this Saturday may be the toughest home environment any visiting team has ever faced in the state of Mississippi. I truly believe that. I mean, the fans know what is at stake. And the Egg Bowl really means nothing if you don't beat the Florida Gators on Saturday. And that's my take on it. That's how I feel. I mean, that's it.
Yeah, the Egg Bowl is it really becomes somewhat insignificant if you don't win on Saturday. And the
Yeah.
reason I say that is because Ole Miss doesn't have a great 10-2 record resume. Should it lose to Florida or Mississippi State and finish 10-2. And the reason I say that is there's so many programs and a lot of teams are going to win and lose and it'll flesh itself out. But Ole Miss can alleviate all of that by just winning the final two games. And you don't worry about it. You host your first round in Oxford, which would be an incredible environment. And you just kind of don't allow any of that to happen by winning the next two games. But if you do find yourself 10-2, there's work to be done. And the good news for Ole Miss is I think you're right. They're laser focused. And number two, something we haven't talked about a whole lot is that Austin Simmons came in and played really well Saturday.
He did.
And number one, he came in a special package. Then he came in and played well late in the game. And Lane even mentioned when asked about Trinidad Chambliss, yes. And by the way, Austin Simmons played really well. Should have completed a long pass, and there was some, I don't know if it was miscommunication or I think he said maybe the sun got in the receiver's eyes, whatever. But Austin played really well. I thought the balls looked good coming off his arm and coming out of his hands, and I just felt like he played well. But once again, I mean, as long as this team continues to click, they're getting better defensively. Andrew Jones is upcoming. He's really playing well. You talked about Sage Ryan playing much better. Wyatt Williams is someone that's taken a big, nice step forward. But yes, Cam Franklin, and you're hoping William Eccles is okay because they're kind of the linchpins right now. Along with Prince-Well, Amon Allen, and Suntarine Perkins, they've kind of figured it out too. And it's just, it feels like, and you hate to put yourself in this mindset with 2 games to go, it feels like this could be the year. And I think Ole Miss fans are very hesitant to say that and to put themselves in that frame of mind. But once again, I think you made a really good point. The fan base is laser focused because of what happened last year. The fans, players, and I would argue the coaching staff was a little lackadaisical with Kentucky coming in with Florida at the end of the year. That's not the case this year.
No, it's not. And let me say this, Brad. You mentioned the Rebels' resume being a little soft. They have a victory over one of the teams thanks to Tulane beating Memphis Friday night, one of the projected teams in the playoff field. Right. A 45-10 win over Tulane. Okay? Who would have thought that was going to be so important this time of the year? Plus, an 8-point road loss in Athens, Georgia against the Georgia Bulldogs. So, while you didn't play Alabama and you haven't played,
A&M, Missouri, Tennessee,
Texas.
Yeah.
You do have a win over a potential playoff team and a very competitive 8-point road loss to Georgia. So, and then everybody else you've slaughtered, you've beaten. So win the next 2 you're in. There's no doubt about it. And, again, I was surprised at Sage Ryan and, his responses to the Florida game, to the Mississippi State game. And he was with his wife and child. And, we were just chatting it up. Great guy. Wishing nothing but the best. But I'm going to tell you, he was. The 2 words we're using here, laser focused. He was.
And one thing too, David, I'm kind of circling back and kind of maybe punching apart my argument, but the Oklahoma win on the road very well could be in Ole Miss's favor. If they go on the road and beat Alabama after beating Tennessee on the road, they're back in the hunt of it. So that definitely could be a team Ole Miss could have favorably on its schedule. LSU obviously is falling apart. They're not going to help Ole Miss at all. Arkansas, obviously Kentucky, South Carolina, and then we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. What are the keys to victory? And we'll talk later on in the week, but I think it's important to kind of look. We were very fresh off a win for Ole Miss and fresh off watching that Florida game. What are some keys to victory for Ole Miss? DJ Lagway did not play well. He was actually pulled late in the game. So what are some early keys to victory for Ole Miss this weekend?
Again, I'll start with obvious: be who you are. Okay, we are a balanced offensive attack. We've got to run the ball effectively. We've got to throw the ball effectively. We will, which leads me to Trinidad Chambliss. Every stage Trinidad has been on this year, he's been big enough to handle. This and the next two games really are the biggest games he's ever played in. And I know he won a national title last year, but a much smaller stage. Again, I think this stadium Saturday is going to be the toughest road environment any visiting team to Oxford has ever faced. Ever. I believe that. And Ole Miss fans should make it their mission to make it as such. So you just be yourself. Don't let this stage, which by Saturday, this stage is going to be huge. I promise you. It's going to be huge. And do away with them quick. So quick start to kicking the butt. And that's it, Brad. Obviously you got to play sound defense, but just win the game and get ready for the Egg Bowl because you've got a short week of preparation. It's minus a day. Well, no, wait a minute. When's Thanksgiving? The 29th or the 27th?
It'll be on Friday, so it'll be a day sooner.
So is it November 30th or November 21st? Hold on, let me find out here.
November the 28th.
I think we've got it. Yeah, we got it. We got an open date.
Prior to Florida, Mississippi State.
We've got an open date.
Yeah, you're right. I'm looking at it. Florida's the 15th and Mississippi State's the 28th, with the day after Thanksgiving. So you're right. I was wrong. Yeah. Ole Miss has an open date in between Florida and Mississippi State.
Yeah, you heal up. You got plenty of time.
Yeah.
I mean, the train going from Oxford to Starkville ought to be 10 miles long. It really should be. I mean, this is, you beat Florida in the biggest Ole Miss game. I'm not going to say ever because we've won 3 national titles, but this may be the biggest Egg Bowl ever, Brad.
I don't know if I like the open week. Just go play.
Yeah, I hate the open week here because there is a such thing called momentum.
Yeah.
And we've got it right now. I don't like the open date. I like that State has to play somebody. Who do they play?
They play Missouri this week, and then they've got an open date too.
So both teams have open dates.
Yeah. Prior to the Egg Bowl.
Okay. Yeah, we've seen it. State's a dangerous opponent, but it should not be much of an issue. Brad, where would you have put the Florida spread? You said 13.5. Where would you have put it?
Prior to the game last night, about 8.5. After the game, I think it's fair, 13.5. They look like they'd given up on Billy.
Yeah, they've disengaged. And look, not only is it the coaches disengaging, it's the players, man.
Yeah.
Don't you think handlers aren't on the phone and those players aren't on the phone with handlers looking to get out of there? They want a trap door to get out if the wrong guy's hired. And the players, they really won't ever have any say in who's hired. So, they're working their end of it too, and they should be. I mean, it looked like a disengaged football team last night. I'll be honest with you.
Let's talk a little bit about men's and women's basketball before we get out of here today. The men's program facing Memphis on Tuesday. The Tigers losing against Arkansas pretty handily, and then having to come back over San Francisco Saturday night to escape a horrible loss inside the FedEx Forum. Maybe Penny's squad not quite as good as it has been. And then the women's program, Coach Yo, they dismantled Alabama A&M. They've had a really good run so far. Norfolk State, her roster's absolutely stacked. Best on paper men's and women's basketball programs in history right now. So we'll see how they finish. But Yo, the Sweet 16, 2 out of the last 3 years, and of course Ole Miss in the men's program advanced into the Sweet 16 last year. Both these teams look really good.
Yeah, the one player I'm excited to see, Cody McMahon, and I'm going to sit down with her over the next couple of days. She is the transfer from Ohio State.
Yeah.
All Big Ten honoree. And I was talking to Coach Yo week before last, and I asked her, I said, is this team built to win an SEC title? She did not hesitate. She said, yes, absolutely. That's what we built it for. They have 8 new transfers, Brad. 8. And, they're going to jail and get better. Yeah, she's playing some games that are kind of like football money games early in the year, and I like how she does it. They beat Alabama A&M over in Huntsville. She took an SEC team on the road to a SWAC school. She has an affection for the SWAC because she was at Pine Bluff for several years as an assistant coach. And I really appreciate her doing that, bringing Valley to Oxford. Getting to give Valley a little money to come to Ole Miss and play. I'm appreciative that she does that. I think everybody should be. But the sky's the limit. And when you talk about Chris Beard and the basketball factory he has assembled here, yeah, they both should go a long way. And I'll go out on a limb, Brad. I think Ole Miss kicks the teeth out of the Memphis Tigers Tuesday night at the Pavilion.
Talking about Coach O's roster before we finish up with the men, the only 2 returners are Christine Awala of any significance and Sierra Chino. Other than that, you've got some really talented players. A freshman, Lauren Jacobs, very highly decorated out of Columbia, South Carolina, stole her right under Dawn Staley. And then the transfers, Latasha Lattimore, Debishka Poe out of Mississippi State, Denham DeShields, who will remember her dad. Help me out.
Baseball.
Yeah, Delano DeShields.
Delano DeShields.
And then you talked about Cody McMahon. She really likes Jory Young, Caitlin Peterson. She likes her, Jayla Murray. So you're right. Only 2 significant starters return. But, boy, she went to the portal. And Tiana Thompson's another. Just a stacked roster. And she told me, she's like, I don't even know really how to label them 1 through 5 right now because Christine is going to play the 5, but she can play the 4.
And Christine is much better this year. Watching her against Norfolk State, more aggressive, bigger presence.
Led the team in points against Norfolk.
Yeah, I mean, she's a scorer too. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But, yeah, I mean, Yo was basically saying, it's really difficult because she's got so many people that can shoot the 3, so many people that went down low. Like just the other night, Debishka Poe, senior transfer, is a guard and led the team in rebounds. I mean, it's nonsensical about how the way the offense and defense is rolling. But she said that's kind of how she's built this roster. It is a bit of chaos, and she really likes it.
Yeah, it's just going to take a look. Basketball, primarily this principle applies in basketball. You are not the same team in February that you were in November. Teams jail, they come together, and she knows she's going to be good, but I don't really think anybody knows right now how good this team can be, because in the NIL era, it is a collection of new faces. It's like a pro team dumped all of their players and went to the free agent market and stacked up. But we didn't dump them. They graduated, ran out of eligibility, but same thing. And she's been in the free agent market, and man, they're going to be incredible and fun to watch.
The main name that everybody's remembering is Malik Dia, but the men's program is very similar to the women's. A lot of new faces, and Dia has played well. Was kind of off and on last year, but I know Coach Beard really is excited to see what he can do. The player that everyone's kind of talking about right now is Elias Carmodine, who's playing really, really well, and then AJ Storr is also someone that's playing well. Not seeing the return out of Travis Perry, the transfer out of Kentucky, the sophomore transfer. So definitely someone that's kind of feeling his way, not making the open shots. And I know Coach Beard will be probably given an opportunity to do that. But right now it's been the Malik Dia show along with, AJ Storr, Carmodine, and some others.
Perry just needs a little time to get acclimated. I got a prediction on Travis Perry. He's going to leave Ole Miss as a basketball folk hero. I truly believe that. I'm not really concerned about him in the early goings. He's going to get it going, and he's going to leave his mark here. I truly believe that.
the Rebels playing St. John in New York. That'd be a cool one to go to. That's happening on December the 6th. Looking at that non-conference schedule, Memphis, obviously a big one coming up on Tuesday night in Oxford, 8 o'clock on the SEC Network. But they've got Iowa coming up on the 25th of November. December the 2nd, Miami on the SEC Network. St. John, we talked about them. They're currently ranked number 5 in the country. Southern Miss, and then SEC play cranks up inside the SBJ Pavilion or SJB Pavilion on Saturday, January the 3rd. That's going to happen. I'm sorry.
Right?
I apologize, David. You're right. It's at Oklahoma.
Yes,
They open up play at Oklahoma, 2:30 on the network, January the 3rd. And that's when SEC play cranks up. They'll welcome Arkansas into the Pavilion Wednesday, January the 7th at 8 o'clock. They're currently ranked number 14, and they lost a tight one to Michigan State yesterday. So SEC men's basketball and the women too, both those schedules are just brutal in the conference because everybody's so good, and this year won't be any different.
Yes, it's the same way in every sport, Brad. Every sport, and if you're not playing to win it, you're going to get your teeth kicked in. And look, I alluded to this vaguely earlier. Soccer, we've got a women's soccer team. If we're going to have soccer, damn it, be competitive in it.
Yeah,
do what you have to do. I mean, and maybe that's on a list and we're getting to it, but why are you going to throw a team out there that has so many deficits against the opponents you're asking it to beat? Doesn't make sense to me. I mean, sorry, that's my one complaint. Keith Carter gets an A+ for every dang thing else. Everything. A++. But soccer, we've got to get SEC caliber coaching in this league. We need it.
He's David Johnson. I'm Brad Logan. A big one on Saturday and a big one 2 weeks from Saturday, or it should be 2 weeks from Friday, when Ole Miss will travel and face Mississippi State. They're currently 9-1. They need to finish 11-1 and host a college football playoff and shock the world and completely break a glass ceiling and make the college football playoff, and something that Ole Miss has never done. I want to thank our sponsors, the Velvet Ditch and the Land Shark, 2 Thailand presenting sponsors here on the Red and Blue Crew podcast, and also the Hearn Law Firm and the Dirt Doctor. Grateful for their partnership here on the Red and Blue Crew podcast. Appreciate you all of you joining us. We'll talk to you later on this week right here on the Red and Blue Crew podcast.